We're going to take a live shot now. The Air Canada Express jet that collided, you can just see the tail there, collided with a fire truck, which is in the center of your screen. This happened in New York last night, killing the pilot and first officer and sending 41 passengers and 2 crew members, as well as 2 firefighters, to hospital. We also just heard an update from the NTSB. They say they have recovered, as we would have expected, the cockpit voice and flight data recorders. I'm Ian Hanomansing. We're live in Vancouver. This is first and foremost an agonizing tragedy. 2 Canadian pilots killed during what should have been a routine landing at LaGuardia Airport. The collision on the runway was less than 24 hours ago, but as you'll hear, there is evidence which points to a key error. I'll be joined by a number of aviation and air traffic control experts for their analysis of what took place. And let's begin with video of the collision. This has been verified by our CBC News team. It is the moment of impact. And though it's taken from a distance, you might find it difficult to watch. The Bombardier Canada regional jet was carrying 72 passengers and a crew of 4. Touchdown just before midnight Eastern time. You can see it there. There is the collision as it slammed into a fire truck that was crossing the runway. And we're beginning to learn more about the 2 pilots who were killed. This is a photo of Antoine Forêt from Quebec, taken from his Facebook page. The other pilot has been identified as Mackenzie Gunther. They're described by the head of the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration as 2 young men at the start of their careers. To give you a clearer picture of what happened at the time of the crash, let's show you this map. You can see the Air Canada flight had just touched down after receiving the all clear to land. At about the same time, an air traffic controller cleared a fire truck to cross the same runway. Air traffic control audio shines a light on what happened. The CBC's Katie Nicholson is at LaGuardia tonight. She joins us live. And Katie, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board gave an update on the investigation a short time ago. What's the latest?
Yeah, so Ian, not a lot of information. We've had 2 briefings today. This was the first one from the NTSB, but as they told us, a lot of their crews, they've got about 25, 27 people on the ground, but many of them are still expected to come. In fact, the air traffic control specialist, one of the key teams, one of the areas that they're going to be focusing, of the many areas that they'll be focusing in this investigation, that individual was held up in a TSA lineup for hours at the Houston airport. There is, at the same time, a confluence of other issues happening in aviation in this country. And so long TSA lineups actually sort of contributing to the a delay for some investigators to get here on site. What we did learn, of course, they did get the cockpit voice recorders. And what we did hear from the NTSB chair is that they hope to turn around some of the evidence from that as early as tomorrow. They do have information on what the staffing levels were at the air traffic control towers. And again, they want to be able to have some time with the data that they've collected today before they verify it and then share it with the public, they said, as early as tomorrow. Here's a little bit of what we heard just in the last couple of minutes from the NTSB.
You know, at this stage of the investigation, we don't limit ourselves. So we have questions on everything. And we look for everything, we collect everything. We may have information that comes our way that we didn't expect, so we don't rule anything out until later. So we have a lot of questions on everything.
And of course, Ian, a big part of this, not just American investigators, Canadian investigators en route here as well. They will collaborate, share information, and try to figure out how this happened. Some of the things they're going to be looking at, of course, communication between the ground crew, the situational awareness of ground crews, the communications used by the air traffic control towers, and staffing levels and fatigue levels. All of these things that we've heard time and again as issues of concern that have been plaguing the Federal Aviation Administration for more than a decade.
Yeah, and Katie, I got to tell you, watching that NTSB news conference, I was impressed by the chair because there are a lot of things that she wouldn't answer, but it wasn't like she said, we'll put a report out in, 6 months or a year from now. She pointed out that they need to verify things, even as simple as how many air traffic controllers were in the tower. And as you pointed out, she says we can expect answers to some of these questions as early as tomorrow. So the idea of waiting to verify and feeling an obligation to get the correct information out quickly, from a journalist standpoint, I admire that. I'm sure you do as well. Let me ask you about the airport you're at. It is obviously normally one of the busiest airports probably in the United States, and it was shut down for a while until this afternoon. What's the status at LaGuardia now?
Starting to move, but that sort of, I don't know if you can see actually, James Young, you can push out there. That runway is going to remain closed. We did ask the NTSB chair for how long. Reporters were trying to push her. How long can you expect that wreckage to remain there? There's an awful lot of sort of debris all over the place. They had to go through it today to secure it so that the investigation could continue. So a big part of it was just securing it today, making sure it was safe. This has to stay in place until all the investigators have gone through it. So what we heard from Jennifer Hanomansing today was that it could be a month, could be longer before this particular runway is going to be reopened. So that is going to continue to impact travel here at LaGuardia. We did hear from the Secretary of Transportation today that, operations they can expect to sort of be a bit of a staggered return, and they will be impacted until they get to the bottom of this and they're able to at least close this part of the investigation. So you can expect that there will be more travel impacts here at LaGuardia, and this, again, as I said, is happening at the same time that there are other travel impacts continuing from the government shutdown, the partial government shutdown that's affecting TSA workers as well.
Katie, we have less than a minute, but I need to ask you, like that scene behind you, one of the things in our job, we get to see things close up that a lot of people don't get to see. As you look over your shoulder at that Air Canada jet, 2 pilots being killed there less than 24 hours ago, what goes through your mind?
I mean, one of the passengers on the jet, I've been talking to his wife, he took some pictures because he had actually helped a number of people get off through the wings. And then he kind of turned at one point and he shared those pictures with us, and his wife had shared them as well. The way that the nose, it's just absolutely disintegrated, ripped apart, and you just get a sense of what a violent end this plane met when it landed. And it's jarring, it's shaking. You think about how many times we take these little regional jets back and forth across the border. You say hello to the pilots as you board, you make eye contact. These are small planes, and it's gobsmacking to see something like that on a jet that I think is so familiar to so many Canadians, these little regional carriers. And it is jarring to think that that's how this particular, what should have been a routine flight, a sort of a back and forth between New York and Montreal, just an up and down, and this is how it ended. And it's shocking, and it's shocking even though we see a lot of things in this job, but it's almost surreal to look out here, Ian, and just sort of see the mess, and it's just sitting there with the Air Canada branding on it, and just sort of as a Canadian, right? It hits you in a way.
Absolutely. Nicely put, Katie. Thank you very much.